A Code of Bugis Maritime Laws. A Code of Bugis Maritime Laws, the little book that was anonymously published by the Mission Press at Singapore in 1832, caught rather much attention the first years after its publication and has been mentioned several times afterward. Nevertheless, the history of its origin has never been investigated, nor has the anonymous editor been identified with certainty. At the moment, now that the booklet has been overtaken by later publication, the subject which it is dealing with, the maritime laws of Buginese merchants and navigators, is likely to be more worthy of attention than the book itself, a subject, moreover, which has never been exhaustively treated in spite of repeated discussion. But in the history of the study of Buginese language and literature, it still constitutes a minor problem which begs an explanation. We will, therefore, restrict ourselves here to biblio and biographical annotation necessary for this explanation and consider the booklet in connection with the studies dealing with Buginese before the time of Matthes. Considering the number of elaborate and informative works and articles concerning Buginese and Makassar language and literature published by P. F. Matthes and up till now used as the main source for the study of these languages, one is entitled to overlook a slight exaggeration in the statement. Before Dr. Matthes, both languages, as well as the literary production existing therein, never have been studied scientifically. Indeed, one may say without exaggeration, they were as good as wholly unknown. Matthes himself laid claim to be the first European who studied this language scientifically. Indeed, the booklet under discussion was also known to him, but obviously he didn't consider it worthy of the title scientific. Nevertheless, in the first years that the interest for Indonesian language and cultures was awakening, attention was also paid to the languages of South syllabus, and when Matthes started his work in syllabus in 1848, a few writings on the subject had already appeared. As has often been the case with other less well-known languages, in the beginning vocabularies were published which were drafted on the basis of verbal and often hasty information and not based on first-hand knowledge of the language. The diligent founder and first president of the Batavia's Genootschap for Taal and Land in Volkenkunde, G.M.C. Radermacher, who is in the first volume of this society's Verhandelingen, supplied summary description of various Indonesian and other Oriental areas, was the first who, in his brief description of syllabus, furnished a dictionary in which he inserted apart from Balinese also Makassar and Boni or Buginese word. This list contained about 170 words and about 70 sentences. Among the last are some dialogue evidently taken directly from live witness. Why did you say that to the missus? Because she want to beat me. The final sentences of a complete novel in a nutshell. The orthography of the Buginese and Makassar word in this vocabulary sometimes hardly allows one to guess which words are intended. In 1811, in his essay on the languages and literature on the Indo-Chinese nation, John Leyden also devoted a discussion to Buginese. He gave 53 titles of most popular Bugis composition, most of which proved to be proper names which denote episode of the La Galigo epic, and he copies from one of these Wepalete, a quotation in transcription with a translation attached to it. In his vocabulary of 54 words in 4 languages, Bugis, Makassar, Bima, and Sumbawa, Buginese words occur in a remarkably correct spelling, such as Wuni, Naik, and Unka is. The first of this example, on his remark about double consonant, suggests that he knew already something about Bugis consonant gemination. He is also the first to mention a Bugis translation of the Quran. Raffles, in his comparative vocabulary of East Indonesian language, also give Bugis, Makassar, and Mandar, though no more than 50 words for each language. Crawford also composed vocabularies in which he compared about 250 words in 14 Indonesian languages, among which Bugis and Makassar. For these two and for several others of these 14 languages, he collected the word personally. All these vocabularies must need contain inaccuracies. Often Bugis words appear in the Makassar list and the other way round, or the words are provided with personal and passive affixes, as for instance Crawford, Jarimu, finger, correctly your finger. Both Raffles and Crawford also published pictures of the Bugis Makassar script, apparently however without using it. If they had based their vocabularies on words written down in that script, they would have avoided a number of mistakes, though not all of them owing to the incompleteness of the script. That also the beginning script cannot pretend to a completely faultless transcription is proved by the booklet published at Singapore in 1832. But even Mathis, who wrote the double consonant and the glottal stop in his transcription, isn't always reliable on this point. And up till now, we lack a dictionary which gives conclusive information on this head. Mathis dwelt at great length on the shortcoming of the Singapore booklet, and he certainly had his reason. But besides this, it may be observed that here for the first time a beginner's text with translation was published, and that the transcription in the vocabulary added to it is based on the beginner's script. Compared with previous work, these are two merits which mean decided progress toward the knowledge of Bugis, and which entitle it to be remembered as a first endeavor on this level. The full title runs A Code of Bugis Maritime Laws with a translation and vocabulary giving the pronunciation and meaning of each word, to which is added an appendix. Singapore, printed at the Mission Press, 1832. A short summary of the text published and some remark on the language and the alphabet, which is evidently traceable to the Sanskrit from its order and sound like several others in the archipelago. The alphabet with the transcription in which G and A for NGA, MPAK for MPA, and O, the text of the maritime laws in Bugis script, then translation. Vocabulary, the words are in Bugis script, transcription and English translation, and arranged per page of the text on which they occur. In the transcription, the consonant not represented in the Bugis script, the final nasal, among which wrongly sometimes also N and M, are printed in italic. Gemination of consonant is lacking everywhere. The grammatical structure hasn't always been understood. Paul Lasalato crime to have also committed the crime of the translation too are not always correct. The impression was probably small. Mathis didn't succeed in laying hands on a copy. He only knew it from later edition mentioned below, and in 1847 Van Heuvel inquired for one in Singapore but in vain. Some copies, however, had turned up in Europe. In France, the expert on maritime law G.M. Pardesses, who had seen an announcement of the publication in the Asiatic Journal, after much trouble obtained one from Bengal in 1837 and in 1845. E. Toulourer, professor of Malay in Paris, at his request, republished it together with a translation and annotation in France in the sixth volume of Pardesses' collection des lois maritimes antérieures, Unfortunately, in his annotation he increased the mistake. For instance, his comparison of Bugis Mesuf, currently Mason, to go out with Malay Inazuk to enter was certainly not felicitous, but it is not found in the Singapore booklet. Later, the Bugis text was printed again in Paris, now bearing the title Chrestomathis Oceananis. Thank you.